The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
We now see Mr. Banfield's car here pulling up to the ordering area. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see him pulling into a parking spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's Mr. Banfield getting out of his car.
Yes, ma'am.
And our camera angle shifts and we follow him still on his phone out to his car. And we see his vehicle leave the area. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We've got surveillance footage from McDonald's and the au pair's testimony. Prosecutors say the footage backs up what she's saying. We'll see what you think. Plus, shocking details coming out in court. The au pair and the defendant sleeping in the same bedroom where the homicides happened. That evidence paints a disturbing picture. Plus, more legal trouble for award-winning actor Timothy Busfield. We've got new sex abuse allegations coming to light. These ones now from a 16-year-old girl. Also, defendant Kevin West's son takes the stand in the cheating fire chief murder trial, and he demonstrates his intense massage. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Friday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant, TGIF, right? Well, before we get to the long holiday weekend, we got a great show planned for you this morning to get you all pumped up and ready to go for a big day on Court TV Live. Let's kick it off, my friends, as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. Something stinks. Why did the au pair shoot? We know the 2 shots were fired at Joseph Ryan. The first shot from a federal law enforcement professional who carries a gun as part of his job. And then the second shot from a young woman who barely knew how to handle a gun. The messy au pair was made to carry concealed on the day that Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield were killed. So why was her shooting part of this alleged murder plot? Why not have the trained, seasoned law enforcement professional handle all the shooting? And my friends, I've been thinking a lot about this since we heard the evidence on Thursday. That gun the au pair used was purchased by Brendan Banfield about a month before the homicides. And the evidence has shown us that Banfield took Miss Au Pair to a gun range to train her how to shoot before the homicides. Why? Why was that necessary? Think about it. If you're in a life or death situation, you're not going to feel too confident with a novice firing a gun around you, are you? No. So to me, the part of this alleged murder plot really stinks to high heaven. Because if we believe what police allege Brendan Banfield did, then I'm wondering, did he insist that the au pair shoot so she would literally have her fingerprints on the crime? Or was he planning to have his au pair take the fall all along if police figured out his alleged plot? Was that why his mama was funding the au pair's defense? Was he trying to control the legal situation and make sure she took the fall? I've got lots of questions. And the answer may be that secret agent man really didn't love his au pair as much as he said he did. Or maybe he just loved himself more. That's my opening statement on this Friday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, time for your daily docket.
Usually I'd start at the shoulders, and I use my thumbs, kind of pressing in with the front fingers and back. And then sometimes I go to the side and kind of do some circles on the side. Sometimes I be kind of doing circles on both sides of the spine. And this could be with fingers, knuckles, or it could be with my elbow.
Okay, that's Kevin West, defendant that's Ted West, excuse me, Kevin West's son in the cheating fire chief murder trial. The defense says that an intense massage done by Ted is what triggered the seizure that killed Marcy West. Well, prosecutors say that Marcy was strangled to death. They allege that Kevin did it. Court resumes 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll talk more about this case in a couple of minutes. And in New Jersey, we got the state's case continuing in the Mansion murders trial for Paul Canero. Testimony starting back up at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And in Texas, court picks back up at 10 a.m. in the Uvalde school massacre trial for former police officer Adrian Gonzalez. Right now, we turn to your top story this morning. Court's going to resume on Tuesday. My friends, mark your calendars in the Au Pair Affair murder trial. The Commonwealth has only 2 witnesses left, and then they say they plan to rest their case. Thursday, the jury saw surveillance footage from a McDonald's just minutes from Brendan Banfield's home. Detectives say that Banfield waited there for a call from his lover, the au pair, to signal the arrival of Joseph Ryan, the man who prosecutors say Banfield and the au pair lured to the home to set up him for murder. Now, the au pair testified that she and Banfield staged reasons to leave the house that morning so that Christine, one of the victims, wouldn't be alone. She says that she posed as if she were talking to the couple's young daughter in taking her to the zoo. But instead, she waited outside. She was really on the lookout for Joseph Ryan.
I was supposed to stay in the car with Valerie to put something on her iPad for her to watch. And as soon as I saw the riot pulling up the driveway, I was supposed to give Christine a call, but her phone would be off, it would go to voicemail, and I was supposed to call him right away and tell him there was somebody strange coming to the house, and that I was scared.
So, does the McDonald's surveillance footage corroborate the au pair's story? Bottom line, the Commonwealth of Virginia needs her. They need her in this case in order to prove the plot that they say Brendan Banfield was the mastermind of. What are you thinking of the au pair so far? Let's bring in our legal analyst guest and talk about this. He's a practicing criminal defense attorney, and he is a former prosecutor as well. Joe Tamburino on the show. Joe, good morning to you. Happy New Year. All right, my friend, tell me what you're thinking about the au pair. Can the jury believe her testimony overall?
Well, good morning, Julie. Thanks for having me on. Yes, they can believe her testimony. And obviously the McDonald's, corroborates that. But you notice something too. While she's testifying, Banfield is just continuously taking notes. His head is down. It's like he's just, focused on whatever he's doing on that counsel table. And, the jury's going to be watching that. So I think, yes, the au pair is doing fine on the stand and her story is being corroborated. But look at how the defendant is also reacting to that. And the jury is going to absorb all of that.
Oh, that's a good point, Joe. Yeah. Yesterday we had Susan Constantine on, and she was saying, he's cowarding. He's kind of, with his body language, you can just see the shrinking, as you said, the way he's putting his head down, taking those notes. Who knows what he's writing? We'll see if this guy testifies. And Joe, that's a great question for you. Does he need to testify?
Yes, absolutely he does, because I think that, I think the au pair did very well on the stand, and he's going to have to get up there and he's going to have to say no. He's going to have to refute whatever she said and give his spin on the story, because if he doesn't, what the jury's going to be left with is obviously physical evidence, which is pretty strong, as well as her testimony. So I don't know how you unring that bell unless he gets up there.
Right, Joe. Joe, I've got a clip for you. This is one of the most stunning things we've learned in this trial through the au pair's testimony, that Brendan Banfield was anticipating being investigated all along. Let's take a look.
He knew eventually we would have one investigation. Why? Because there would be a murder, and it's just what happens.
Joe, you've seen a lot in your many years of practice in criminal court. How often do you see a guy like this who isn't just hoping not to get caught, but is actually allegedly planning everything with the mindset that someone is going to look at this and scrutinize it and potentially try to trace him back to it?
That doesn't happen that often. I mean, I haven't seen that in quite a while. But, you know, the commonality in these types of cases where you have someone who's fixated on getting out of a relationship, getting out of a marriage, and wants to do it his way, that's where you usually see this. That's where you usually see the scheming, the conniving, the getting other people under his influence to try to get his project across, which is murder, of course. And so that's usually the context where you see this type of planning. You usually don't see that in other crimes.
Great points, Joe. I've got a clip for you. This is a compilation of some of the surveillance footage from the McDonald's. Let's take a look together.
We now see Mr. Banfield's car here pulling up to the ordering area. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see him pulling into a parking spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's Mr. Banfield getting out of his car.
Yes, ma'am.
And our camera angle shifts and we follow him still on his phone out to his car. And we see his vehicle leave the area. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Joe, you know the defense position here is that the prosecution leaned on this witness and convinced her to give testimony, and they're insinuating for the jury that she's getting details from discovery materials. But then when you have something like this, as you said moments ago, you said this video really corroborates her story. Tell us how important it is to have corroboration with pieces of evidence like this video when you have a witness like Miss Au Pair.
Well, basically what I go by is there's three parts to believing or whether or not to believe a witness. Basically three things. Number one is how that witness comes across. Do they basically seem sincere? And that's something that every juror will have to decide for themselves. Just how does the witness come across? The second is the witness consistent in their statements? Because when you have a witness that is saying A, B, and C one day and X, Y, and Z the next, well, that's not consistent. But people like to see overall consistency. And the third thing is, are their statements corroborated by other evidence? And that's what is happening right here. So when a juror sees a witness, they want to believe them physically, how they're acting and everything. They want to see if they're consistent, but they also want to see if their words are corroborated, which means proven by other evidence to be true or to be likely true. And I think that's what you're getting here.
Well said, Joe. We've got more coverage of the Au Pair affair murder trial coming up. Here's what's next on Opening Statements.
What bedroom did you stay in?
The first, when I first returned, I stayed in my bedroom, my upper bedroom.
Did anyone stay in that bedroom with you?
Yes.
Who?
Brendan.
And did the two of you ever move into the master bedroom?
Eventually, yes.
Some really incomprehensible testimony about the sleeping arrangements after the homicides. Plus, new allegations coming against actor Timothy Busfield. This time they involve a teenage girl. We'll unpack the case next.
The Court TV podcast will return.
The defendant is currently charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor, child under 13, and 1 count of child abuse. Under New Mexico law, each count of criminal sexual contact carries up to 6 years of incarceration, and child abuse carries up to 3 years.
Actor Timothy Busfield in custody, being held on child sex abuse charges, and he's now facing a new allegation connected to a 16-year-old girl. The Emmy Award-winning actor made his first court appearance on Wednesday, a day after he turned himself in on the claims of inappropriately touching minors on set. In new documents, prosecutors say that the father of a teenage girl reported alleged abuse from several years ago, alleging that Busfield kissed her and put his hands down her pants during an audition. Busfield's attorney denied these allegations. that are being made against the 68-year-old. In a statement, the lawyer said in part, quote, Tim Busfield denies the allegations and the criminal complaint and maintains they are completely false. As a voluntary step, he submitted to an independent polygraph examination regarding those allegations and passed. Again, that's from attorney Larry Stein representing Timothy Busfield. We saw him release that little video we showed you the other day where he is adamantly denying this. All right, so now that we have another component here, we have another minor coming in and saying that she was abused. Does that strengthen the narrative going right now against Timothy Busfield? Let's talk about it. Still with me, attorney Joe Tamburino. I want to welcome in entertainment commentator Zach Peter. Good morning to you both. Joe, let me begin with you. You were a prosecutor hearkening back to that time. How do you think these prosecutors are feeling now hearing that there is someone else coming forward upon the announcement of the first filing?
Well, I would imagine they're feeling pretty good, because what this would go to is something that you and I have talked about many, many times, and that's what's called 404B evidence, which means some type of other acts. Many times they're called prior bad acts, but technically it's just called acts, other acts. But if those other acts are used to prove that a person has a method of operation, a pattern of doing certain types of crimes, whether it's something like specific aggravated robberies or specific sex crimes against specific people like minors, like minor girls of certain age groups, yes, that could be powerful evidence.
Zach, you live in Hollywood, you podcast there. Are you feeling the tide turning yet?
I mean, I think a lot of people right now are trying to stay away from it, given, how we've seen Hollywood really get rattled with Time's Up and Me Too. And I feel like right now, considering, this involves young children and minors on set after everything, right? After Hollywood has supposed to have made this big shift. I think, we've seen like Corey Feldman speaking out. I know Megyn Kelly's been covering it. But I mean, we even saw his wife, Melissa Gilbert. She shut down all social media, and she's kind of, trying to stay as far away from this as possible. We saw SVU pulled an episode with Timothy Busfield. So it kind of seems like everybody's backing away right now.
Right, I know exactly, Zach. Busfield, as you said, he addressed the first wave of the allegations we know right before he turned himself in. TMZ got that video. Let's take a look back for anybody who might have missed it. Here it is.
I'm going to confront these lies. They're horrible. They're all lies. And I did not do anything to those little boys. And I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight it with a great team. And I'm going to be exonerated. I know I am, because this is all so wrong and all lies.
In addition to what Zach just mentioned about NBC pulling that episode of Law & Order and Melissa Gilbert taking down her socials, we know that Busfield's talent agency also dropped him. Can he recover in the court of public opinion? Regardless of what happens in the criminal case, and let's say he's vindicated, let's say he's cleared. What about the court of public opinion? Joe, how concerning is this if Busfield were your client facing just these allegations?
Very concerning, because, look at what you see in the media. I think People magazine has recently reported that there was an allegation of sex abuse, that he had worked out some type of settlement, supposedly, back in 1996. So that's 30 years ago. So you're getting all this very negative press about all these prior acts, allegations, settling claims, whatever it is. That's not good when you're trying to fight a criminal case. You want to be able to control that. So, when you talk about public opinion, if I had him as a client and I see that the media is reporting things that are going back 30 years, yeah, I'd be pretty concerned.
Definitely. Zach, I want to dovetail a bit more off of the point you made moments ago about how Hollywood, can embrace and love someone 1 minute, and then the next minute it's hands off and somebody's persona non grata. Here we have two actors. We have Timothy Busfield, and his wife, who have been prominent figures in Hollywood for a very long time, Melissa Gilbert. When something like this comes up, and you said you've noticed a lot of people are staying away from it, would you kind of speak to how, it's difficult when there's an industry and people are fighting enough to get jobs, but nobody wants to, condone or support, sex abuse if it's going on anywhere. Would you kind of speak to some of what you've seen in various cases that have come up and what you anticipate we might be seeing with this one down the line here?
I mean, I think the smartest thing that they should have done was just stay away from it. Making such a strong declaration on TMZ and then Melissa Gilbert deleting all of her socials and issuing a statement, I think the best thing that they could have done is just let the legal system play itself out. From what we've seen, whether the allegations are substantiated in the end, whether, anyone's, prosecuted for their crimes in the end, the stain is always going to be on your reputation. With somebody like Timothy, who people grew up watching and, has been in Hollywood for decades, like this is completely, I think obliterated his reputation, and what a terrible way to end such a long career in Hollywood. I don't know if there's any coming back from him. I think especially given the nature of the victims being underage, I don't think that there's any coming back. I think his reputation in Hollywood is done.
And Zach, you mentioned such great credits. What a great career he's had. We have a couple notable things. I know our viewers at home are going to recognize Revenge of the Nerds, 30-something, Field of Dreams, The West Wing, directed 150 plus television episodes. That's a lot of episodes. And I wonder if he hurt himself. To Zach's point, Joe, by speaking out and making that video, I know it's hard because, you're darned if you do, darned if you don't. If you say nothing, then people say, oh, you're being quiet because, you're guilty. But if you say something, then it's scrutinized, and the way you say it's scrutinized. And so I feel for anybody in that position in that regard. Joe, being a lawyer, what do you think? Is it problematic that he did that and spoke out?
I don't think it's problematic because he didn't really say anything that could, hurt him in the end. He's just saying he's innocent, and these are just, spurious allegations and they're untrue. What I do think is problematic is while this is all going on, his wife recently talked about how she felt pretty much abused. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but how she felt like she was put in a terrible situation when she was a child actor on Little House on the Prairie back in the 70s. I watched that show. I thought it was a great show. And in that series, she had a relationship with, I think the other character's name was Almanzo, who was like 10 years older than her. So the irony is not lost on people, where his own wife, not too long ago, is talking about how she felt abused because older people in the industry took advantage of her, and now we have her husband being charged with this.
Yeah, that's a perfect point to end on. Of course, we'll continue covering this case. Excellent insights from you both. Joe Tamburino, Zach Peter, thank you so much. We're going to hit a break. Coming up on Opening Statements.
And you say that that's what you would do every time?
Every time. Not in the same order, but right at the beginning.
So your testimony today is that you would do this every time?
Every time.
Well, the defense says Marcy West died from an intense massage in the cheating fire chief murder trial. The defendant's son gives a demonstration for the jury. Plus, can you imagine sleeping in the same room where 2 homicides happened? Yeah, we're going to break down the disturbing details in the Au Pair Affair murder trial.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I have no idea what time it was. I just woke up. My dog was whimpering and kind of woke me up. And then I knew she was having a seizure. And I got out of bed. And I called 911 and went around my side of the bed.
This morning, we're giving a voice to victims with a focus on Marcy West, whose husband is standing trial accused of her murder. Prosecutors say that Kevin West strangled Marcy to death to avoid paying for a divorce. But Kevin's attorneys claim that Marcy died from complications after an intense massage by this man, the defendant's son, Ted, who took the stand as a defense witness and demonstrated the massage.
Usually I'd start at the shoulders, and I use my thumbs, kind of pressing in with the front fingers and back. And then sometimes I go to the side and kind of do some circles on the side. Sometimes he kind of doing circles on both sides of the spine. And this could be with fingers, knuckles, or it could be with my elbow.
All right, so that was the demonstration. Do you believe what the defense is saying? Do you believe that it was an intense massage the night before that led to a seizure, that led to a death on the day that her husband was going to leave her? The day he was supposedly coming with the divorce papers to leave her to go be with his mistress? What do you think? Let's bring in someone with a lot of case investigating experience. He's retired now. Lieutenant Mike Gould with us. Good morning, Lieutenant. What say you about these stories that are just miles apart about how Marcy West died?
Yeah, as the saying goes, what a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. So in this case, truthfully, I thought the strangulation was a little odd, considering this guy's a paramedic. He had known about his desire to leave this marriage. So I thought he would have come up with something more, a little bit more sinister, perhaps poisoning or something else, an accident, staging an accident. So manual asphyxiation or strangulation is violent, and it usually, for a conscious person anyway, the crime scene usually will show a lot of disruption at the crime scene. So the question, of course, is this defense witness who gives his mother the massage, is that going to be consistent with the MEs, and it's going to be a battle of experts here? Of course, there's a lot of other circumstantial evidence, but so I always found this a little interesting that this is how this guy who seems very rational, it wasn't an extreme emotional disturbance. He didn't come in and say he found his wife in bed, he freaked out, and he just killed her. So I don't know. I think, why didn't he suffocate her? I mean, not to be too graphic, but there's other ways than strangling somebody in the middle of the night.
That's a great point, Lieutenant. Hadn't thought about that, because when you're dealing with something sinister like this, to your point, when you have somebody who is trained, to a degree in the area of medicine and first responding as a firefighter, that he might have thought of another method if he was seeking to kill her. So that's a fair point. And to your other point, which is an excellent one, this is really going to come down to which expert the jury believes. I have a clip from the state's expert who is saying that there's no way a massage caused this. Let's take a look.
The location of the contusion is, part of it is over a bony prominence, which is not a focus of a tissue massage. If there is slow continual pressure of the tissue sufficient to cause bleeding in the muscles, I would expect there to be injury to the skin surface.
Lieutenant, what'd you think of that?
Truthfully, I don't find it very powerful. As I said, strangulation of a human being it requires a lot of strength, and people flail. And if they're conscious, if she was unconscious when he did it, maybe that's a different story. So that's not powerful to me. And then we're going to hear what the defense has to say. But it's certainly, to me, not the smoking gun. It's all this stuff adds up to nefarious behavior. Of course it does. But if this is it, I don't know, Julie. Again, if he is guilty, as I said, we have devolved as a society and humanity to the point where murder, a loved one or a spouse, is better than it's easier and less complex than getting a divorce. So all of these cases that we're looking at these days involving these spouse homicides, murders, greed, lust, envy, jealousy are all played in almost all of them. And it's really scary, right? In the animal kingdom, this behavior doesn't exist. So it's really disturbing to me how we've devolved, as I said, to just, we want to get out of a bad marriage. Divorce is as common as Botox these days, getting Botox. So I don't understand what the problem is that an intelligent person is think that they're not going to get caught.
Right. I think you said something that many of our wonderful viewers at home watching right now with their coffee are thinking, Lieutenant, how the three trials that we happen to be broadcasting right now, the three, biggest, all involve alleged money motivation, where money, was at stake And so a homicide would be an easier way to deal with things. And I'm speaking very generally, but you know the cases, the au pair trial, you know, the mansion murders trial, and then the cheating fire chief trial, all, to your point, you know, have very similar allegations going on that revolve around this. I love hearing your perspective, Lieutenant, because I think that, you know, we can watch that clip and look, you've been to crime scenes. I don't know how many folks watching right now have ever seen one. I hope for everybody watching, you've never had to look at one or look at photos of one. It's an awful thing to get out of your brain. But as you said, you know, you would imagine this to be very violent and to look very violent. She was strangled. So that is favorable for Kevin West, and the fact that his son is on his side, very clearly on his side, giving this testimony. I have a clip from his mom. Let's take a listen to some of what Mom had to say about his relationship with his mistress.
I believe Kevin and Marcy loved each other. I think they grew out of being in love.
It wasn't always like that, though. Like in early days, was it better than that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. When, and did you see a change at some point in their relationship?
After they had kids.
Okay, so Mom knew about the affair with the woman who's now his fiance. So, Lieutenant, are you thinking this jury could walk away believing that it's an awful coincidence that he was going to leave his wife and go be with the mistress, and she suddenly died on this day that he intended to depart?
Yeah, so Julie, I'm not suggesting he's innocent, but beyond a reasonable doubt, it's one juror that has to kind of relate in some manner. And these, again, text messages and affairs and all of these things, again, I think that it's got to be obviously beyond a reasonable doubt. He has a presumption of innocence. But again, it's just a weird case in general. And I don't understand how in this day and age, if you think about the cases you're covering, very rarely are they not solved through digital evidence, surveillance cameras. It's not like just a random accidental homicide in the middle of the woods or mountains. Nobody gets away with these things, or rarely do they. 20 years ago, these diabolical schemes, probably he would have walked from these things, but there's just too much evidence. Digital footprints, breadcrumbs pointing. He's texting his mother, he's a 50-year-old man texting his mother about kind of like these intimate relationships with I don't know that. I don't recall me doing that when I was 50 years old. I couldn't do it because there was no text messaging, but I don't think I would be sharing those things with my mother.
No, no. And Lieutenant, last question for you here. Seeing the son come in, you know, and who's raised by Marcy and Kevin West. Marcy's the victim here. She's deceased. However, she died if this was just, you know, suddenly her life was taken away, you know, because of these natural issues that occurred in her body, or if this was a homicide. Either way, you know, a life was lost here. Do you think it's extra meaningful to the jury that we have this young man coming in and clearly being very supportive of Dad?
Yeah, Julie, and it's not uncommon. We see that all the time with children. They're put in a very emotional situation. They lost a mother, now they're going to lose a father. So they almost have to, they're going to have what we all have, confirmation bias. They're going to have to take a side in one regard. So, yeah, of course I think it's powerful. If all the children are going to come up and testify and dispute, look, he was just a guy who was unhappy. Again, greed, lust, all of these other things don't necessarily add up to intentional murder, premeditated intentional murder. Why he's not maybe a plea of manslaughter. But yeah, I don't think this is a open and shut case at all.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. We were talking in our newsroom. We think this case could go either way. It's really one where I wouldn't be surprised with either outcome. Lieutenant Mike Gould, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks so much. And before we go to break, of course, we want to put the focus on the victim. We want to remember 49-year-old Marcy West. We wish we knew more about Marcy. We have tried to dig. There's very little we can find on social media about her. We couldn't even find an obituary. And for that, we feel so sad. We knew that she was young, had a lot of life ahead of her. She is a beloved mother, and we know that she is missed, and we hope that her family will speak out and tell us more about her. We would love to hear those stories. We'll be right back.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Now for what's tipping the scales in the au pair affair murder trial. We heard a shocking detail earlier this week that the au pair and the defendant were sleeping in the bedroom where the homicides occurred. I want you to take a close look at this picture. Notice anything? Look where the spotlights are. Okay, we see two photos in frames of defendant Brendan Banfield and his au pair. You can see them on both sides of the image here. And this is also the bed right here that the homicides took place in. Now, in case you're wondering, it appears the au pair also had her own room before the murders. She likes to hang the Brazilian flag in there. And we know she also brought it into the master bedroom as well. She also brought some of her lingerie into the closet where Christine used to keep her clothes. What do you think about these post-homicide sleeping arrangements going on in that house? I'm disgusted. I've been saying it on this show as soon as I heard that fact. I want to bring in our guests and see what they think. I'm sure they've got a lot to say. I have Dr. Sue Kornbluth on the show, psychologist and private investigator Manuel Gomez. Good morning to you both. Dr. Sue, I'll start with you. Your thoughts, please.
Good morning, everyone. I have tons of thoughts on this, Julie, as you can imagine. First of all, to me, I don't know if anybody saw this movie recently, The Housemaid with Sydney Sweeney. This is like 10,000 times what happened in that. And to me, this is all about power, power, power. They won, right? They got rid of who was in the way. And so now they're going to claim the throne, and that's why they are sleeping in there. They have everything that they want now. They've taken over the home. She's going to become the mother of the children now. It's sick, sick, sick. And I think what this comes down to, Julie, is all about power, that he needed to be in control and power of everything that went on in that home and get rid of anybody who was trying to take away the life that he wanted. This is about obsession, it's about power, and it's extremely, extremely destructive when we get those two elements in any relationship. We've seen this in so many cases this year.
Amen, Dr. Sue. Manuel Gomez, want to go to you. Your thoughts, please.
Well, first of all, I want to say that, the evidence in this case and the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming. And the fact that you see the laundry, the fact that they had the letters from the mother and the daughter saying that she will take on this murder for him because she loved him, it blows my mind why the prosecutor made a deal with her to testify and then walk away scot-free. She's literally going to make more money walking away scot-free with the money she's making with Netflix. She's been offered almost $100,000 already, which is far more than what she would have made in 2 years. As you know, she was only making $200 a week. It is appalling to me. And as a private investigator, I mainly cover 80% of my cases are murder cases, proving people innocent and then finding murderers, okay? And I hate when prosecutors let demons walk away scot-free. This girl, as you see in her testimony, is monotone. She's detached. She is equally a killer as he is. She didn't stab her, but she did plan it. And she is walking away scot-free. I'm sorry. It's just appalling.
And Manuel, I want to talk about something you brought up, the flat affect. I noticed that too. Dr. Sue, let's look at a clip together where she's talking about moving into that master bedroom.
After February 24th, 2023, did you ever go back and live at the house on Stablebrook Way?
Yes.
What bedroom did you stay in?
The first, when I first returned, I stayed in my bedroom, my upper bedroom.
Did anyone stay in that bedroom with you?
Yes.
Who?
Brendan.
And did the two of you ever move into the master bedroom?
Eventually, yes.
Oh my gosh. Dr. Sue, explain to me psychologically, please, what might be going on with her that she can be so flat and apparently so devoid of emotion talking about these homicides?
I mean, Julie, to me, it's what she's showing is like she's checking out right now and has gone into a different state, maybe to make herself look better, maybe not to. I don't know. But when you have a flat affect, it's almost as if you're absent from what is going on. I don't believe it in this case. I believe that she is putting on that flat affect to get sympathy from the jury. I also think that what we saw, if you recall, in the video, I think it was in front of the house, she had a completely different affect. I think this young lady has some issues going on. Look at how different she looks here all together in terms of when she was all dressed up in her outfits with her blonde hair, looking as sexy as ever. I mean, it's almost as if it's two different people now. And I think it's a cover up to get sympathy for what happened. And in this particular case, I think that she was 100% involved in this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I've been saying all week, she is no innocent little lamb. You don't find a lamb in a pig pen, and that's where she went with this defendant and the affair that they carried on without question. And yes, I would not like her. If she's a prosecutor, I would, detest her conduct, and I would not have offered her time served. That's just me. I wouldn't have gone there. They did. Well, I know that fires you up. Tell me, I know that they need her to share parts of the plan that they can't get anywhere else. And I want to pick your brain about that. The depravity that's being alleged here. Manuel, this guy is said to have been thinking the whole time about how the investigation might come back to him. The au pair said that everything he did was to make sure that investigators would look at it and think he was clean. Manuel, why do you think her shooting was part of this plan? That's like the biggest question I have. Why do you think that she was made to shoot in this?
I believe she was made to shoot because he was preparing her as a secondary option of what was going to happen if for some reason it was botched up. She would be the alternate to shoot in that house, and she could use the gun if, let's say, he got attacked and wasn't able to get the guy, and the plan didn't fall through. So yes, that shooting was a preemptive training to help her do the murder as well. Okay, again, this girl. And I'm glad, Julie, that you would never give a deal like that to walk away scot-free. I wish more prosecutors were like you. Unfortunately, we're letting so many demons out there and walk away scot-free. This girl, the sad thing is going to go back to Brazil, Julie, and have $100,000. And this will literally fade away. This is what kills me in this case. To me, that's a travesty of justice. At minimum, she should have got at least 10 years in jail. At minimum.
Yeah, and hopefully her plea to the felony is going to prevent her from profiting on the deaths of these people. So at least there's that admission. Amen. I'm with you. I'd love to see her behind bars for a long time and then sent back to Brazil. She's got to live with herself in this. It's terrible. I thank you both for the excellent discussion. We'll continue our coverage on this one. Dr. Sue Kornbluth, Manuel Gomez, thank you kindly. Friends at home, thank you for being with us for this Friday episode of Opening Statements. If you liked it, tell your friends about it. We're here every weekday morning for you, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and we put the shows up on our website for you. In case you can't see it in the morning, you can watch it throughout the day. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.